Hello everyone. It's 10th of January 2017 and this is another episode of ProAMT Traders Digest. Let me go through the disclaimer first. Trading in stocks derivatives involves substantial risk of loss and not suitable for all investors. Past or simulated performance is not a guarantee of future results. All systems, indicators, strategies shown here are for education purpose only. All levels discussed here are for understanding the study and not a recommendation to trade. Please consult your personal financial advisor before making any investment or trade decision based on anything that is discussed here. We will not be responsible for any resulting profits or losses. So let's have a look at what Nifty did and throughout the day. Let me toggle this profile and bring up this chart. So it opened inside the range and tried to push within the value and above the settle of Friday. This was the hypo 2 that it opens in the range, tries to push up, pushes back down below this tail and then reverts back to mean. Now it could not push down below this tail. Most of the day it stayed within the IB with this D period giving a failure, pushing back in, again going back to the open, a very orderly auction down, slowly coming down, all of a sudden a spike which got sold into, and finally a last hour spike down which was again not able to fetch any supply and a close just below the developing point of control. Overall, balanced day, very neat and clean balance, and it's very unusual to get a balanced day after a neutral extreme. Yesterday on Friday we had got a neutral extreme negative day. The C period breached the IB high, failed to stay above, and finally the extension on the downside was huge and closing in the lower quadrant, so becomes a neutral extreme negative close. Now let's see how it did in terms of rotations. Very symmetric rotation in the open. Opens, tries to push above the day mid, falls, again tries to push back into day mid, again falls, and then a zipper at the day mid, tries to go into the adjusted close of previous day, fails there, again an impulse down, comes back to the day mid. So if you can see, it's again and again going back to the day mid. So it was getting attracted to the fair price because that was where the volume was generated, and finally while coming back down created volume lower. So the value has also shifted lower, the volume has been trading lower. Overall a negative but balanced auction. If you can see, order flow prints were not that huge, almost a neutral kind of order flow till the low was made. Got sold off from the highs when it tried to push through the highs for the second time. That time it got sold off, and we could see the biggest negative prints of the day came when it got sold off in that later half. But overall, not much of activity. Let's see the volume. $4.70, the lowest volume recorded in January. So this might go into the books, might stay as the lowest volume day if we keep on getting higher volumes every day again. And the initial balance volume was very low, so the expectations are very less that it might do something. But nowadays what is happening is every day it was trying to create less volume, and then all of a sudden the volume comes in, either demand or supply comes in, and all of a sudden breaks out from that range. So when it's creating a balance, the chances are as it is higher that if there is a volume push out of that balance, can easily continue its trend towards that breakout. But no breakout as such. Almost all rotations are like a small balance, again a small balance, pushing into that, failing, and finally settling. What I'd expected here is like it goes into 45, but here it could not go into 8245 zone. What I had expected is it goes into 8245 and then pushes back into 8255, but instead of that, it stayed short of 8245, pushed into 8255, came back down, tested the IB, and finally pushed up. Maybe day time frame traders are exiting, and the orders, forced exit orders coming in. So finally settled lower into the demand zone where there was no supply. So tomorrow, this entire lower balance, this green band becomes important. 8248 to 825355 kind of zone becomes a bit important for 10th of January. Now on the delta front, we could not see any players getting stuck here. Excuse me. Finally goes down, and when it goes down, finds a lot of sellers running to sell and gets bought into. And when such things happen, chances are that, see, what is happening is it's leaving behind a tail, coming back, not able to break the initial low, and then pushes back up. Now when it's pushing back up, buyers running into the stops, because most of them would have thought that this is a nice, they would be looking at the previous day's close, and it's staying below that, so they would either keep a stop loss somewhere into just this congestion zone, or they would keep a stop loss, even there's a pivot here, so they would keep a stop loss here. And this is running into the stops. You could see greens coming in at the highs and then absorption, and finally falls back down, sellers coming in at the lows getting stuck, and pushes back up again, a huge buyer stuck here with a positive delta, demand dropping here, and finally continuing its move down into the IB low. So overall a balanced day on the volume as well, staying going below the range and again coming back up. Now let's see what we can expect for today. What I am expecting is open somewhere in the middle of the range, maybe, or let's say it opens somewhere into this broader zone. So expecting a open within range most probably, and if it opens within range, it might want to, because it had started that short covering part later, so might want to probe into this, break to Monday's high, and then fall back down, test 8252 kind of zone, try to push back, and then continue its move down into the gap zone of 82 below 8233 kind of zone. So that is one of the scenarios. The second scenario is that it opens within the range, tries to directly push down, tries to push back up, finds buying support below the lows, and then comes and reaches near the high. What it does near this, because if it reaches above this entire balance, then what it does here would be key, whether it's accepting here and wanting to push back up into 8285, 8290 kind of zone, or is it getting supply into this zone and failing back and settling somewhere into the middle of the day and again form an inside day. Not exactly an inside day, but stay within the range later on. So that can be the two likely scenarios. The other scenario, in case it opens out of range completely, then if it opens above, then it would want to test directly into this 8290 kind of zone. Check for buying interest there. If it gets buying interest, rotates and starts its move up. And if it finds supply there, then push back into this zone. Similarly, if it opens below the range, might want to probe into that 823035 kind of zone again and check there. If it finds buying interest there, then push back into the range. So depends on the volume. Very sluggish day today, so volume needs to pick up in case it wants to give a larger move. Otherwise, we'll be seeing tight ranges, and I avoid. I'd taken like the trade took a lot of time, and that's why like see when this is happening, my general intention is that we'll push back up and move into a bigger impulse like this. So the pushback should have been till here. If the pushback is still here, I would expect it to extend into this directly. Now that didn't happen, so I had to cover into this, and next time when I'd sold into this and holding on and waited for 45, which took a lot of time to come. So before that I had to book out at 50, and then again finally the rest of it I could book at 8245. So this is the expectation we have in Nifty. Now let's see what Bank Nifty did. So the expectation in Bank Nifty was open within range and pushed back down into the 8250 kind of zone. It could not go till 8250, but got huge buying interest into this open swing low when it went lower to probe for any supply. No supply there, instantly pushed back up. My expectation was that it will push into this 410 408 kind of zone. That didn't happen, fell short. So I was thinking it will go till there and then reject and push back into the zone. So the rejection came a bit earlier, but the hypo one played out, and that's why like when the market is doing what I had assumed, and when I can get control of that auction, if I can see that okay, I'll be able to get into this, keep a comfortable stop loss and ride a move. I exited very early though. If I would have waited, would have got a nice 60 70 points, but I exited entirely at 32 points. But after a long time, Bank Nifty trade which was fruitful. And let's see what it did in terms of the rotations. So a zigzag move in the open, within like 1 minute it was able to like swing around 60 points, and then finally a failure here, a one tick failure of this low, and pushed back, came into this balance to check, was even the pivot of yesterday, the simple pivot point. This grayish blue band is the normal classic pivot. uh, so came back there and pushed in a huge impulse. I was expecting that this impulse would continue and push through that 408 kind of zone. Didn't happen, created a balance, came back into the value area high of yesterday, the volume based value area high, and tried to push through the high, failed there, and that failure gave an opportunity for selling because it's coming into this zipper. Breaking that is an opportunity to sell. So I sold in this pivot sell, and finally coming back down in a very good impulse down, push back, impulse down, again a zipper, and this could not extend further into this zone. So this fell short and then creating a huge zipper here. So here it lost momentum and almost like lost all interest to trade away from these prices. So finally settle at the fairest price of the previous day. This is the highest traded volume of the previous day, comes there. The volume based value area has developed a bit higher, and if you can see, these are balanced zones. So even if we draw that, this will turn out to be a balance. So it's pushing from here, leaving a tail, comes back into this, again pushes down, and finally with this ends the auction. So a nice balance up there, goes to test that VH of that balance. Most of the activity below the fairest price. So this is how the intraday movement shapes up. And order flow was negative at the highs. All of a sudden, this a huge push, a huge positive push, and then got sold off into this, and then almost a neutral order flow. So apart from these two wild rotations, nothing much to do entire day. Let's see what it did in terms of the time based chart. Push down, huge push up, comes back in. So these two profiles overlapped. Then long liquidation profile, could not get anything, and see it traded just at the above the fairest price of this long liquidation, and then created a balance throughout this. Goes into this to check if there is any interest and finds sellers there. And as we all know, the auction travels up to find sellers and it travels down to find buyers. So finding buyers into this demand zone and getting sold off from the supply. When it got sold off from the supply, order flow started going a bit positive but almost neutral. Now let's see what we can expect for today. So expecting open somewhere near or above the close. Let's draw a broader area. Maybe open somewhere into this zone. Try to push down into this balance. Try to push down into this, fail, return back. If it fails to push into this, if it stays at the mid, then push back down, and let's see where it can go. So push back down into again the 250 kind of zone, and then decide from there where it wants to go. On the other hand, if it wants to push back up, it opens inside, tries to push above this high, tries to push above this high, tries to find acceptance and pushes up, and if in case fails, pushes back down into this fair price and then rotates into this zone and decides where to go. Third hypothesis, in case of a major open away from this range, in case it doesn't want to open in this range at all, wants to stay away from this range, then let's see what is the likely scenario. So if open is below this, then it might want to push down, and let's see where it can push down into. So push down into this zone, push down into the 200 zone, and then if it finds buyers there, then come back up, find resistance into this 250 60 kind of zone, and then try to rotate inside the range, and otherwise fail there and continue its move down. That is the scenario if it's trading down continuously. On the upper side, now above that 410 becomes a bit dicey. Need to watch what it does there and then take a call on what can be the likely scenario. Let's have a look at the stocks as well. So Tech Mahindra continues the losing streak, and we had expected HDFC to rebound a bit. That has done, and overall almost flat. If we look at beginning from the beginning of the year, let's see what it did just for Monday. So HCL Tech going up, rising almost 4% and then falling back a bit down. And Tech Mahindra rising almost 2.5% and falling back down. So IT was in a rebound mode, and most of the stocks trading in the negative territory, with Dr. Reddy and Oro Pharma. The pharma is losing a lot, and others almost flat. So nothing much apart from these major stocks, nothing much on the stock front. Now what we would like to see tomorrow is how this behaves. If Tech Mahindra is able to get above this zone, then again would start its move up, and if it tests this and fails, then would start its move down. What I like is those stocks that are giving better moves, those stocks which are trying to give larger moves on such days. Better to play those stocks, because at least we might get we will be able to catch a certain part of the move. So I think that's it for today, and thanks for watching. Catch you all tomorrow.